We're back. It's Isaac.
What's up, Hit Play Nation?
And
You still
Connor here. It's a new day. We just
I
decided.
only wear black.
Yeah, we only wear these color shirts
Yeah,
ever
so.
to ever exist.
Mhm.
Connor, we're here for a very special reason.
Indeed.
It's a very, very big reason.
Very big, yeah.
Very fun.
Mhm. Over 100 hours, some might say.
Kingdom Hearts 4 is a thing.
We're back at it again.
We're back here, folks. No, I'm just kidding. So we recently just beat
Well,
Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. By recently, I mean
yeah.
I beat it
recently
2 weeks ago. You beat it like 2 months ago.
I beat it 2 weeks after it came out.
Yeah.
Less than that, I think.
I like to take my time. What can I say? I like to take my time.
fair, yeah.
Anyways, we did finally get to
Yeah.
the ending of Tears of the
finally got to
Kingdom. There were many, many twists and turns, some of which we were like, WTF. Some of which we were like, WTF.
The, I can't share them, but the Discord messages that I got from this guy as he went
Yeah.
through the story were fantastic.
Yeah, they're very, there were live takes, too.
Yeah, it was some good
literally
live
like,
tweets, yeah.
put the switch down, pick up my phone to text Connor.
I gotta let Connor.
It was one of those things.
Oh, man.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So we did it. We finally beat it.
Yeah, we finally
It's
beat
finally
it.
here. By the way, disclaimer: full spoilers. We're not gonna tippy toe around it. It's been 2 months.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
if you haven't beaten the game, go play it.
yeah, go finish it.
Great sequel. If you liked.
the-
Nah, we're not even gonna review it like that because it's just.
I mean, it'll end up coming up. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's-
not.
anyways,
you
it's
want
a good game.
You want to review 5 out of 5? Play the fucking game.
Yeah.
Best game of the year. Nothing else will top it. Yeah, nothing coming out will top it. Period.
I don't think so.
And I'm beyond excited for Armored Core 6.
Is that this year?
Yeah, comes out in like a couple months. No, it comes out the end of August. What am I talking about? But yeah,
So yeah, go watch it.
yeah.
Go play it.
Go
excuse
finish
me.
it. Yeah, come back.
Come back and just
And then-
tell us if you actually believe in us or agree with us or not.
And if you don't, that's perfectly
Yeah, you can
fair
just
and valid.
no, you can just keep that opinion to yourself because it's wrong, and there are wrong opinions in the world.
If you didn't like this game, unsubscribe.
Listen, we need to subscribe to the theory that there are wrong opinions in the world.
I was like, it's not a great line of topic.
But anyways, Tears of the Kingdom. Let's start here. It's announced, I think, 4 years ago. I think, yeah, right before the pandemic happened. I think
so. Yeah,
I think it's when we got that first teaser.
that
where
first
it's like
teaser, and it was
the
like
backwards music. It's basically the intro of the game.
yeah, it's
just,
the intro, but backwards
like,
basically.
extremely demoed down.
Yeah.
Your thoughts heading into it, having just beaten the first one.
Yeah. So that
Did
was.
you think there was going to be? I mean, there was going to be a sequel.
there was always gonna be a sequel?
But did you think it was going to be a direct sequel?
No.
Right.
So I think because I finished. God, that trailer came out maybe like a year and a half after Breath of the Wild.
It was very
like
quick.
that. It was very quick, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember being in like anticipation for Tears of the King for ages. But yeah, beating Breath of the Wild, I was like, wow, this is like the best Zelda experience. Period.
Well,
I mean, I love.
We'll
like,
get there,
Ocarina
we'll
and
get
stuff,
there,
yeah,
we'll get
But
there.
I just like when I finished it, I was like, this is amazing. Because that was also when Mario Odyssey came out that year too, and I was like, wow, Nintendo really like
They're back.
They dropped the Switch, and they're like, here's 2 of the greatest games to ever grace gaming. Period. And I was like, all right, cool. Nintendo knows what they're doing. Great people make great games. Don't make good prices. But yeah. So when the trailer came out for Breath of the Wild 2 back then, I was just like,
4 years ago, June 11th, 2019.
yeah. So because I think it shows Ganon like the skeleton.
Yeah.
And I think even back then everybody was like, oh my god, Ganondorf, like Ganon's back. You know, we didn't beat the Calamity was a whole thing. It was oh my god, the theories were so much fun.
Reddit was popping for a couple days.
Yeah, it was nuts. I mean, my own sister and I were sending messages back and forth for days on end about like, oh, I watched the trailer again, and this is what I think I saw. You know, like
Yeah.
I remember there was an entire thing about like short hair Zelda, like
Yeah,
that
it was.
great.
Are we gonna play as Zelda? Because
Yeah, we were all super
was it-
excited for the console playing as Zelda. Yeah,
Yeah.
feels bad. But yeah, I remember being super duper excited because I was like, part of me was also like, how do you continue Breath of the Wild, not as a story, because as super open-ended, you could do whatever the hell you wanted. I was like, how do you build on that gameplay?
Yeah.
I was like, this is like, at the time, you know, open world perfected. Like, how do you do better than this? And then they did.
Yeah.
The absolute mad lads.
It was
They
crazy.
really
Yeah.
did.
Because you're like, this is the most sandbox, like free-forming sandbox
Yeah.
game of all time.
I was like,
Have
games will
you-
never get better than this.
anything basically anything you think you can do in the game, at least in terms of like physics-based, you can actually do it.
Yeah.
So it was like, how do they one-up it?
Yeah. How do you get better than being able to do everything?
And then you get all those powers, and you're like, in the first 10 minutes of Tears of the Kingdom, and you're like, holy shit. We're in
That-
for a treat.
Yeah. The Ultra Hand Shrine.
Yeah.
And then, like, you can put stuff together, and you're like, okay, cool. And, like, you can put anything together. And I was like,
Yeah. Because I remember seeing TikToks of it, of the people who got it at midnight, because they played it first.
yeah, I was one of those.
Yeah. And I saw TikToks of like, I was like, people were rebuilding like TIE fighters and like U-2 bombers and stuff like that. And I'm like, what the hell? This game has been out for 5 hours.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Those early creations were incredible. And just like, and not even just like Ultra Hand. Like, Ultra Hand's great, obviously, freeform
Yep.
sandbox.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of the other powers, also, I feel like they took the concepts that they had in Breath of the Wild and just perfected it. Like,
Well, Ascend, they were just like, you don't get Revali's Gale, but we're just going to give you something that's so much better.
yeah, you could just go through rock. It took me maybe 40 hours of actual gameplay to like start thinking with Ascend. There were so
Yeah.
many times where I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to climb that cliff.
Yeah.
And then like,
And then you see like
like a rock,
like
yeah.
a perfectly
Yeah.
placed rock that just so happens to have enough space
a
under
little
it.
nook, and you go.
Yeah.
It's just right at the edge of the
Yeah.
Ascend thing, and you're just like, we'll rewind time one. I suddenly can't think of the name.
I think it's just called Recall. It's
Yeah,
called
Recall, yeah.
yeah.
Recall is such an improvement on stasis. I mean, like, stasis was cool, just being able to like stop enemies.
Yeah.
But the range on Recall,
Yeah.
is absurd,
And
there's-
the-
you can get away with.
And the immediate cooldown
Yeah,
just makes it opens up everything. Because
Oh.
a lot of the abilities that you had in the first game were more or less exploration focused. Where
Yeah,
it's like
you know.
you can't
Get
really
bombs.
use besides bombs,
Yeah.
obviously. But like you can stop something from coming at you. And I guess you could do like a stop and then do the like whatever the momentum one is and then shoot
and
something
shoot
at
stuff
it.
out. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's one
Yeah,
of the
that's
things you
cool.
do, yeah.
But in this game, it's literally like, yo, you see that giant rock guy that's gonna kill you? Yeah, just go up him. And you're
Go
like,
through him. Yeah.
what?
Oh, did the enemy throw a thing at you? Stop time.
Yeah.
Send it back.
Yeah, yeah. Which just opened up a lot in terms
It's
of
so
like,
much
the
cool
boss
concepts, yeah.
level or the boss designs.
Oh God, yeah, we'll have to get into boss design later.
This game
But-
definitely showed me that Nintendo was still they're cooking because
Yeah.
even like, little things where it's like, oh man, I really wish I could have like a fire fruit like at this point, and then you turn around and you're like,
and there's one right
oh
there.
shit,
yeah.
there's a fire fruit.
Yeah.
The level of quality, the QA that must have happened
Oh
for
my
this
God,
game,
yeah. Especially because
would've-
like,
must have been insane.
because like one of the few gripes that I ever had with Breath of the Wild, was that a lot of the puzzles I was like, there's an intended solution, and you know what the intended
Yeah.
solution is, and
Yeah.
you can go around it, but it's really hard. That was part of the fun, was figuring out how to break the physics engine so you can go around it. Tears of the Kingdom, a lot of times you're like, oh, here's the intended solution, but fuck that. I'm gonna do what I want.
Rocket
And the
shield all the way, baby.
And the game is happy about it. It's
Yeah.
like, go for it, dude. Like,
They
yeah,
want you to
we
break
want you to
their-
break this as much as humanly possible.
Yeah.
There was one shrine. I don't remember what shrine it was, but I spent maybe 40 minutes figuring out how to get across a body of water with like, it was like a ball or something. I just had to get a ball across a body of water.
Yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about.
And I spent 40 minutes doing it definitely the incorrect way because I looked it up afterwards. And it
Was
was
it the one where
super
they
simple-
give you like a raft or something, and then they give you the wheels like somewhere else?
and you have to like go across the
Yeah,
top.
yeah. I remember that one.
Yeah, no, I don't know how. I think I like put the wheels against the wall, and I made like a rotating gear system that marched it across the
Oh,
wall.
you gave
that
them
way.
the Industrial
yeah.
Revolution.
Instead of just like putting the wheels on
Yeah.
the wall and having it spin like.
To
an
be
actual
fair, what
car.
I did was I ultra handed glued it onto like a piece of stone,
Mm-hmm.
and then I put it halfway, got on the ladder, walked across,
Walked across, picked it back up.
Yeah, picked it up with ultra hand, and then
Yeah.
just put it to the other side.
just the absolute freedom that Tears of the Kingdom gives you. again raises the question of, well, how are they going to top this? And you
Mm-hmm.
know for a fact that we're going to get a freaking trailer
You
in
think
like
we're
a
gonna
year.
get a trilogy?
I don't know if we're going to get a trilogy. I don't know what else they could do with this story, especially with Ganondorf already being dead again.
Yeah.
Unless we go into
Somehow
like,
Ganondorf has
Malice
returned.
and stuff, and like the original. There's a lore conversation there. I'm sure that some of the lore junkies, hi Ashlyn, will be like, here's what they can do.
Yeah.
And yeah, they could probably get away with it. But I think that we will definitely see another game with this type of sandbox.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if this is what Zelda looks like in the future. Is it's just these open world sandboxy games, or even just the amount of freedom. Maybe if it's not even open world, it's just like here's tons of stuff to break the game with. Go into a dungeon, have fun. Because I mean, I feel like in both these games, I pointed at Smash, but both the games, dungeon design was kind of lackluster.
Like the big dungeons?
Yeah, like just like the big dungeons. You
Yeah.
know?
The first one for sure. Mm-hmm. Especially because they weren't themed. It was just like,
kinda
here's this
there.
big gray
It was just the big,
room.
big Sheikah technology. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool
Because you
the
think
first
about
time.
Zelda, and that's like the first thing you think of is
Yeah,
the
like the
dungeons.
themed temple, yeah.
There are iconic dungeons, not only in their just atmosphere, but also the design of them. Some of
way they
which
make you hate.
are infamous.
Looking at you, Water Temple Ocarina of Time. But I mean, like, yeah, I use the audio from the Twilight Princess dungeons constantly
Yeah.
in D&D, just because like the thematics of them are beautiful. And like that was a cool thing about Tears of the Kingdom was just like the dungeons did have like designs again,
Return to form.
but it was very much just like walk over here, activate a terminal, walk
Yeah.
over here, activate a terminal. And it's like, oh, well, it's not a terminal. Now you got to use Tulin's wind power to turn on a turbine. I'm like, it's the same thing as last time. It's cooler because you're on a giant arc ship.
Yeah.
But like, it's kind of just whatever. So I would enjoy seeing Return to Form with these long dungeons where you're picking up keys and you're getting like the key items and crap.
Fighting multiple
fighting
mini-bosses.
multiple mini bosses
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah.
That's the one thing that was lacking for me. Mm-hmm. It's just like, okay, I get that this random goblin is hard.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
But like,
I understand
where
I
are
ran
the-
across a Hinox in
where
the
are
overworld.
where are the iconic mini bosses?
Yeah.
Right.
Where's a Dark Knight?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, they did bring back a lot of stuff for Tears of the Kingdom, which was cool and also terrible. Gleoks are awful enemy design.
Yeah, they're terrible. I tried to fight one.
I've killed 2 of the king ones. Not worth it. Not worth it at all. I would use so many arrows.
It's,
They're not.
yeah,
They're not
I
fun.
don't know. Anyways.
But like, and like the boss design is obviously they brought back some iconic bosses. Gyptos. Seeing Gyptos again was cool. Terrifying, but cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shit myself, but it was. I made it to that area and.
The Gerudos.
Yeah, the Gerudos,
Yeah.
and they were like, oh, we were fighting Gyptos, and I was like, no. And sure enough, they sucked.
That's another thing too that I think this game improved on was the atmosphere and just the world itself. Right. It was more
Alive.
alive, obviously, because the first one is
Right,
taking
yeah.
place after a
After
cataclysmic
calamity.
event.
Yeah, this is 5 years after you
literal genocide.
started to rebuild everything. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But it feels nice,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
But it's actually like you go to towns and it's like, oh, there are, people walking around. You go on
There's
the,
stuff happening.
You go, you're on a horse going from point A to point B, and there's like not only points of interest, but there's people in those points of interest. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, this is nice. It's annoying when they all hand you quests that is just basically, hey, you need to go here.
Yeah,
And it's
go
like,
here, do a
fuck,
random
it's on the
thing,
other side of the map. It's like, I need to go find Zelda.
Yeah, like it was cool to see Impa like traveling between the different hieroglyph
Yeah.
areas, seeing her just like being in other places. I was like, that's neat. The world exists outside of Link. Which I mean, you got a little bit of Breath in the Wild, but it's not a ton. It wasn't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a lot. But that was one of the things that I was worried about with Tears of the Kingdom actually when it was like coming out and stuff, and I was like, okay, so we're back in Hyrule.
It has
It's
to
not
feel
super
fresh.
far afterwards. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do they make this map that I've explored to death interesting?
Yeah.
Because like we saw the Sky Islands really, really early on. We saw the Sky Islands and stuff. We are like, okay, cool. So I have stuff in the sky. But I was like, but if we're still on Hyrule, which we saw, I was like, what do we do about like how do we make Hyrule cool?
Yeah.
Man, I didn't recognize shit.
No, that's why when people were complaining. I remember reading a lot of complaints of like, "Oh, this is just the same map." I'm like,
It's
playing
really
the same
not.
game.
No, yeah.
Did you buy the wrong game?
Yeah. Like, even the places where you're like, oh, I know this.
Yeah.
It's still different enough where
Yeah.
your like muscle memory is off. Like I was in the Rudo area.
Yeah.
Right? And like I was walking around like doing all the shrines finally after I beat the game. And I was like, oh, I recognize this space. I think the shield surfing lady's around here somewhere. But she wasn't where she was like originally. She's kind of like a little bit more to the left. Like the course is a little bit different and stuff. So when I did the course too, I was like, oh, I beat the crap out of this course when I was playing. I can totally do this, especially with like all the changes to, the physics engine and stuff. I'm like, I can make shield surfing work. Took me so many tries to get the max because it wasn't what my muscle memory was telling me to do. It was completely different. I was like, wow, this is super cool.
Yeah.
And then just because it's 5 years later, like all the quests are, like all the people are different. The caves are a really nice addition.
The towns changed.
The towns changed,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
The giant ring, the ring ruins just being stuck in Kakariko.
Yeah. Poor Kakariko.
Poor Kakariko. Gerudo Town, the first time you get in there, just being covered in sand
Desolate.
and stuff. It was super cool, super creepy. Just even like changing where the shrines are located feels different. Like I kept coming into Zora Domain differently because instead of it being like you're teleporting directly in the center and you're coming out from like their waterfall.
Yeah.
You're coming out
or like the bottom, the one at the very bottom.
You're at the very bottom, and in Tears of the Kingdom you have to like ascend back through and like, oh, this is so much different. Same like Gerudo Town where you're like floating in from the top versus like just walking around back into the town. Yeah, it's just subtle stuff that like you're like, this really changes Hyrule and it feels so fresh and exciting.
They're the goats. That's why they're the goats.
Nintendo knows how to make video games.
When they want to learn how to, when they want
to make a good video game, they make a good video
buckle
game.
down and be like, "Well, we're gonna make art."
Will they sell it for what it's worth? Debatable. Should Skyward Sword HD have been $60? No.
All right. What are some things that didn't go so well for you specifically?
Gibdo Queen is not a fun boss fight. And why?
We'll get into the bosses in a little bit.
Why do I have to fight 4 of them in the depths?
We'll get into the bosses.
In terms of story, not particularly.
Yeah. The story's way better this time.
Story's way better.
There's an actual...
Mainly because there is more of a plot.
Sure.
Versus just go kill Ganon.
And go find your memories.
Yeah, go find your memories and stuff. And like the Zelda memories are cool. And stuff. Like I enjoy seeing Ganondorf like at the peak of his power.
Once again, our boy is back. First time we'd seen Ganondorf since, I think, Twilight Princess.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm trying to think.
It's kind of crazy.
Skyward Sword, he was Demise.
Yeah. And every other, like all the. And since then, we've had a bunch of handheld games.
We have a bunch of
Link's Crossbow Training.
Is he in Link's Awakening? I haven't actually played that one.
I don't think so.
So then,
no, because Link's Awakening is the it's the one with the egg.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
And you're fighting something else. I think it's like a fish.
That was before
fighting.
Ganon's time.
I don't know. I've never played that one. Sorry if I offended anybody.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the few like big ones that I haven't gotten around to yet.
That's the one that everybody always says is the best.
Yeah, so I mean, we haven't seen Ganondorf in a while, and it was also, I know we're talking about things we didn't like, but I'm just going to tangent on what. It was really cool to see Ganondorf as a threat, because like Ocarina of Time, he's scary, but we don't actually see.
Because he's in the background. Yeah, they're in the background a lot.
Like you teleport.
Well, I mean, we wake up in Ocarina of Time, and it's like, oh shit,
you wake up and
the
the world's destroyed, but you don't actually see it happening.
Yeah.
A lot of the Zelda memories, he's like actively shit up.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, this is a man that's scary. I'm terrified of Ganondorf. And then the final fight.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that.
Awesome.
We're gonna talk about
We'll talk about it later. Yeah. When we talk about bosses, we'll get it. But stuff that didn't go over well. A lot of the shrines felt samey. Like there was at least double the number of blessing shrines.
Yeah.
And that was annoying as hell. I like also when you're going through it, because I collecting all the shrines at the end, wanted to get all of them, etc. A lot of them were underground, like in the caves. And that sucks because you'll be flying around, right? Or be walking over the world,
and then your little sensor
and
goes
your sensor
off.
goes
Oh,
off.
I turned that off immediately.
Well, I'm like, okay, cool. So like, there's one around here, and then it'll be like nearby underground. I'm like, okay. and I look around, and the cave entrance is like 2 miles east under a random rock, and you have to track it all the way. I'm like, how would anybody spot this with the sensor? Like, the sensor's worthless in this case. The only reason I would even know that they're there is because like I did the depths first, so I had all the light blossoms, and that was just like I was like, oh, there's a shrine here, which means I just got to do a loop until I find a cave. But yeah, that was so infuriating. I was getting so frustrated. And then you do those caves, and it's like, I don't know, build a boat and float 10 feet. Oh, you found the shrine. It's a blessing. Like, I'm like, I want a puzzle, man. I want like something to test me.
Give me my Rubik's Cube.
Yeah, like, something. I'll take an apparatus at this point. Like, like, give me something.
Apparatus.
Yeah, you remember those from Breath of the Wild? Yeah, those sucked. So some of the shrines were a bit of a letdown, but I feel like it, like I said, it kind of makes up for it with the fact that actual dungeons are kind of back, and just like plot and stuff. So I was kind of like, I didn't care as much, but it was very much like as I was finishing them up, everything else was done. I was like, this sucks. This isn't enjoyable. Some of the limits on what you can create are really nonsensical and annoying. I assume it's because of loading issues.
What's something that you tried to make?
Why do hot air balloons despawn, man?
Do they?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Hot air
I
balloons
didn't
despawn?
like that the glider.
Yeah,
It
glider
lasts like
despawns,
a
yeah.
minute. And you're like, well, what the shit?
Yeah, I'm like part of the fun with like, especially because like you'll be looking at, like some of the skyline, like the archipelago. I don't know how to say that word. Archipelagos. You'd be looking at them, and you'd be like, okay, there's a really high up thing over here.
Yeah.
And my spawn point is over here, like where the shrine is.
Yeah.
How do I get up there?
Yeah.
And you make your hot air balloon, and it would despawn before you could get up there, and you're like, well, like, what am I supposed to do? And it's like, well, just get a fan, silly, and just attach it to something and fan up there. But that was the answer to a lot of those. And like after a while, I'm like, I don't want to make the fan bike again.
Once you figure out how to make the hover bike,
Yeah.
it
Like, a lot of it's
solves all your exploration
Yeah.
issues.
Because it requires like the fans in order for you to get up anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not as exciting as like, the second I learned there were jets and gliders, I tried to go to the moon. Like,
You were a member of the Korok Space program.
I made at least 50 variants on the rocket-propelled flying machine. And every single one was a disappointment because I'd go 20
like
feet
5
and then it would
seconds.
despawn. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to like go. I want to like, start up really high and then just fire across. Because one of the things I remember doing in Breath of the Wild that I thought was super cool and just like a really fun take on what you can get away with in the game was I swam the entirety of Zora's River to where it ended in like Hyrule Field.
Damn.
I swam
Where
the
did it
entire
end?
thing, didn't get out. And I just like I was just swimming through it, and I was just like I was like the fact that I can do this, no load times, no bugs.
It's all open.
All I need is just like food, it's just
Yeah.
keep my stamina meter up.
Yeah.
And it was seamless. I was like, there's never any issues. I was like, that's incredible. That on the Switch. Even back then we knew it
At
was kind of
720p.
yeah. Even back then we knew it was kind of a middling piece of hardware. So I was like, why can't I do that in Tears of the Kingdom? Why can't I fly across Hyrule? You guys aren't rendering anything because I can pull out the scope and look.
Yeah.
I know what you're rendering. Why can't I float? Why can't I just zoom across? Battery was a good way to limit you, but then like, why can't I just have?
I also
infinite
didn't
battery
like
with the rockets.
to kind of build up on that. I wish there was a like delay of some sort when it came to that, where it's like, because once you hit one of the Zonite things, it's like all of them go off. And you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
fuck.
I would have.
I'm upside down right now.
Yeah, I would have loved having controls.
Yeah.
Like when you put on like the actual like the steering stick. It'd been really cool if like your attack button is now any Zonai weapons on the thing.
Yeah.
Because like sometimes
Instead of
like,
them all going off
Yeah.
at once and it just kills your
like,
battery like immediately.
yeah, you're like on
Yeah.
like when you're exploring the depths. I'm like, oh, I want a flashlight on my car that I'm making, so I
Yeah.
can see right without having to like stop every 10 feet and throw out a blade broom. But then your battery dies, and I'm just like, well, I don't want it to be draining my battery, and like if I want a cannon on there to shoot anything that tries to bother me, I don't want it constantly firing because then it's gonna knock me around.
Yeah.
And stuff. So like having options to toggle those would have been awesome. That was one of my gripes too.
Also, weapon degradation.
Yeah.
Just get rid of that.
I mean,
Don't bring that to the third one. I hate it.
the
It's so dumb.
that was my other gripe. is that the way they did to fix that, because I don't really mind it as a mechanic. I think it's kind of fun when you start playing the way that the game feels like it's intended, where you like run into a camp, yeet your broken weapon, pick up one of theirs, start beating to death, toss it and stuff. That's really fun. And the way they added combining, so it's just like you run up, slap a dude, toss your broken weapon, quickly pick up his weapon, combine it with his horn, and start beating his friends to death. That when you do it right is awesome.
Yeah.
The Colosseums, I don't know if you've done any of those in the
No,
games yet.
I have no desire to. I'm done with the game, by the way. Like, I just don't ever want to.
The Colosseums, the Lino one, I was surviving off of the skin of my teeth and picking up the crap the Lionels dropped and fusing them as the next ones came out. Because it was a nightmare. I went there way too early. But it was a lot of fun just being able to I have like a half a second before the next one gets in engagement range, and I'm just like picking up this broken sword, combining it to a Lino like horn, and just be like,
here we go.
I'm ready. Quickly swapping through my inventory, trying to find like a thunder fruit to zap out the next sword.
Yeah, that's something that I think most people can.
Yeah. It feels
relate
great,
to.
but like combining makes it so that when you find those cool weapons, they don't feel as exciting.
Yeah,
Because just like, I'm just gonna stick something to those, like, because there's so many references to the old games. Like I found the big Goron sword, right? And I was like, this is so cool, the big Goron sword. I know this thing.
and then you just fuse.
But I'm like, if I want to use
moblin
it,
horn on it.
yeah, I gotta like stick something
because
on
it's
it
all
and ruin it.
decayed
Yeah.
and stuff, and yeah,
I'm like, it's a 34 hit weapon, sure, but like, that's not good.
you can make it stronger.
Yeah, I'm like 34 damage is gonna do nothing by the time where I'm at in the game, where I have a ton of silver stuff running around. I need much higher damage values.
Yeah,
So I'm just like, that's kind of boring. Like at least in Breath of the Wild, like, okay, if I go to Hyrule Castle, I can always get all the Royal Guard weapons.
yeah, I get all the end game stuff.
So if I break them, I can just be like, I can just go walk and farm it. Not a big deal.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of times where like I found something cool and I was like, oh, because I gotta attach a line hell horn to it and call
Makes it less
like,
cool.
It's not as exciting,
yeah. Those were my two big things. Also,
Yeah, say your thing. I think it might be the same thing.
kind of a little too long, at least in terms of the main quest.
A little bit. It did kind of.
There are moments where I'm like, fuck, I gotta do that. Why can't I just go kill Ganondorf?
The fifth sage was a letdown.
Yeah. Well, I thought the fifth stage was gonna be somebody else.
I expected Paya. I was
did
so
too.
excited. I was like,
Yeah.
we've been leading up to it.
Because the way
the Sheikah,
the construct has the glasses
Uh-huh.
in the same way that she has her glasses in her hair. So I was like, oh, that's tight.
Yeah,
Like,
I
oh, we're gonna go back to the Lookout Landing, tell her, and then be like, oh, she's awakening as the fifth sage,
Nope.
and then it's like, no, you're actually using a Megazord.
Yeah, you're using which also didn't like the Megazord. I'm gonna.
It was kind of cool.
It was
It
cool
was
at
cool
first.
when I texted you, and then like, I fought a boss with it, and I went, nah, this isn't as cool as I thought.
It's super cool the first like second you get on it, and you're like, this is awesome. I got a Megazord, and then you actually have to like walk it across the depths, and I was like, this thing is slow as hell. It drains my battery constantly.
It does
no damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was not enjoyable. And then when you're just like out and about, it just takes up space on your screen.
Yeah.
So yeah, the fifth stage was kind of a letdown. Especially because like if you didn't do the memories, you have no idea who
I mean,
the hell
even if
this
you
chick
did
is.
do the memories, you have no idea who the
Yeah,
chick
she
was.
shows up in like two of them, and you're like, oh, it's Raru's sister. Cool, I guess.
Like, why do I care about you?
We have two big Sheikahs.
Yeah.
Why can't we use them? But also the damage in this game is vicious.
From
I
the
remember
jump.
you, I remember you
Yeah.
texting me about that constantly, just like, why do these moblins hit like a truck and I only have
It's
3
like
hearts?
blue moblins.
Yeah, blue moblins were like one shotting
Which are
already. I
the
was like,
basic
oh my god.
ones, and I have 5 hearts, and I'm somehow getting killed.
Yeah. I believe they balanced it around the idea that you would have sages backing you up. And when you have all 5, it feels fine, but it's very much just like that initial like couple of dungeons.
Right
You're just like,
before you get into the
I'm
stages.
getting slapped, and there's
Yeah.
nothing I can do about it except dodge. But all of those are relatively minor gripes with everything else it does right.
Yeah, no,
It's
for
really
sure,
like-
for sure.
Yeah,
Those
like-
are definitely
yeah.
like skill issues type.
Yeah,
things.
exactly. I'm like, oh man, it sucks that I can't have like perfection.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
This game gave me a foot massage, $10,000, and it cured cancer. But why can't it also make me a pizza? Is
Yeah.
kind of like what these are, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Actually, speaking of other things, the sages were kind of a letdown, just in
I
general.
was gonna say, let's start ranking some
Yeah.
stuff.
I love Tulin. Tulin's great. Great character. Great
The
power.
GOAT.
Fantastic
So
as an
funny.
assistant.
He's so
he
funny.
headshots everything. He's so good.
He's so cute.
And then they kind of just went downhill from there.
So what was the order you went in?
So I went Rudo's. I was gonna do a loop. I was gonna start at Rudo's because that's where they tell you to go.
Yeah.
Um,
Do they?
Yeah. They say, hey, like they point up, like, hey, why don't you try checking out Rudo Village first? They kind of hint at it. It's not like a direct, like, you should go there first because, like,
Because when I did it, they were just like, "Oh, here, go to the 4 regions."
Yeah,
I was like, "Okay."
when you like when she tells you about it, she's like, oh, I think like there was something like that direction, and I think that's to get you started in the memories too, because that's where you first run into Impa. But yeah, so I went Rudo, and I was gonna do a loop. I was just gonna go down to Goron, Zora, and then Gerudo. But I really wanted to go to the Zora place because I love the Zoras, so I just went straight to the Zoras and then went.
I was
up
gonna
to the
say,
side.
did everybody pull a Breath of the Wild and just
Yeah.
go to the Zoras first? Because I
Oh.
did.
Yeah, I loved seeing my boy again, my boy Sidon. I also love all the angry comments about the fact that he's engaged and married. Oh, that was great.
Reddit's so stupid.
Reddit's so dumb. I
hate-
mean, I was one of them. I was like,
I hate Reddit.
you know. But and I was like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Like, he's a fan favorite. Of course, he's a sage. Because I was really happy seeing Tulin, right? I was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
a character we don't know yet.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew
He was
he
a
was
baby.
a child.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool, new character, right? Love that. And then we go to Zora. I was like, okay, yeah, fan favorite character.
Makes sense.
Everybody loved him.
Makes
Of course,
sense.
he's going to be a big important thing. I expected it to be his wife because they made a big deal about her.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, she'll be the actual sage, but whatever. Then you go to the Gorons, right?
I don't remember that guy.
And Yonobu's a capitalist.
I don't.
That was weird.
my man read Alexander Hamilton.
My man watched one wrestling match with Macho
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
Randy Savage, put on the mask, and decided to start selling marbled rock roasts.
Yeah, no,
and profiting.
That was weird.
I don't know why we didn't just let him be. I feel like he's doing fine. But then like I was like, I guess he was there. I would have preferred like a new Goron partner, but whatever. And then we go down and it's Riju as the final stage, and I'm like, I've seen these characters before. I want something new. I
Yeah.
wanted something a little bit more exciting.
Yeah.
Especially when you consider the fact, and I had a very long rant about this with my sister. We know that the sages are all descended from champions, right? Mm-hmm. They don't talk about the champions
No.
barely at all.
It's really weird. They don't talk. I don't think they talk about him
They don't talk-
ever.
Mifa has a statue, and they're kind of mentioned once or twice.
Yeah.
But like, Yonobu had Daruk's protection.
Yeah.
Where did that go? 5 years, he turned into a cannon. Excuse me.
By the way, biggest waste of powers ever. They like completely botched the siege's powers.
Oh my god, the sages will be
Other than Tulin, who was
Tulin's the
useful
goat, yep.
for exploring.
Yep,
like
he's
Rivali.
amazing. Mm-hmm.
But
Yonobu's power is
I got him and I all tried him out, and then I was like,
turn them off.
"Fuck this! I'm turning this
Yep,
off."
yep,
Yeah, the
same.
only one I ever had on was
Yep.
Tulin,
I-
unless
I-
I was getting like swarmed by mobs.
Unless I need backup.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Then I would turn them on just to be like, "Okay, you guys don't do damage, but I just need somebody to distract."
Yo, go like keep him busy. Yeah, like kill it. Well, I just
Like,
actually
let me go
do
kill
damage,
the let me go kill the boss.
But like, yeah, anytime you actually need them in combat, they're always on the other side of the map. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I can whistle, and then they don't come.
yeah.
And I'm just like, so the powers were kind of mediocre.
The only one that was cool was Riju, but her problem was you had to actually walk over to her, activate it, and then you had to wait for her to charge it up.
And then you had to fire an arrow. Like, why can't it just be like,
Yeah.
I hit her, she activates, and then like I can do anything to cause a lightning
Yeah.
strike. Or I can activate her from afar by just like pulling at my arrow and pressing like a button, and she's
Yeah.
like with Tulin, why can't I just be like arrow out, and it's like lightning strike? Question mark?
Yes.
Like, and I'd be like, cool, and then she start charging. Like,
Yeah, there's like a little quality of life.
there's
stuff
a couple
that
things
just
about the
kind of-
stages I was like, I feel like this wasn't fully extrapolated on
Yeah.
because they're spending too much time with Ultra Hand.
Yeah.
Which fine, because Ultra Hand is great.
Yeah.
When you think about what the coding of that looks like, dear God.
No, yeah, that I can see why
I'm
this
afraid.
This game took
Yeah,
what is
right.
it, 6 years, 7 years
Uh-huh.
to come out with.
Even though they're using the exact same map. But speaking of stuff that was a positive, actually, how did they keep the depths from us That was a shocker. I was
don't know.
not ready for that.
That first time is always
Yeah.
special for everybody because I remember being like, "That's weird that there's caves."
Uh-huh.
Because I mean, full disclaimer, I did not watch. The only trailer I watched was the first one, the very very first one in 2019, and then I think it was like the second or third official trailer that came out, the one where I was like, I don't know about this game, and then I watched it and I was like, I'm fucking getting this game when it comes out. This is this is, Zelda somehow just always does that to me, where it's like I'm thinking about it, I see how I feel, and then it's like, oh god, I need to buy a new Switch.
Yep. But yeah, because like I watched the trailers obviously because I watched like the Nintendo Directs and stuff, so I saw them when they happened. And I was
Didn't
very
mention
much
them
like,
once.
yeah, no,
In
not
any
at
of
all.
the trailers. Yeah.
The caves, I was like, oh, caves, that makes sense. The upheaval and stuff. Totally get it. I remember once, I was walking up to Ruto Village, and I had my first interaction with Gloom Hands, and I was like, oh
That's
my
always
god, this
fun.
is terrifying. This is terrifying. And I'm running away from him, and I see Gloom around a well, and I'm like, that's weird. And I
jumped
walk
in.
over to the well, and I kind of like leaned over and like fell into it, and I was like, I just kept falling. And I was like. Smacked the ground, right? And I pulled out my shoe right before I hit it, and I hit the ground. I'm like,
Yeah, because there's a quest you get in the beginning.
to send you
From-
down there.
I think from Joshua that sends you down there, and he's like, "Hey, make sure you take these seeds that'll show light." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "But I'm not really gonna need them, am I? Like, it just seems silly to
You
kind
need
of
'em,
farm them." So I was like, "All right,
Lo and behold.
time to go." And then I went down, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty cool. Like, it's a little cave, like no big deal." And then I was like, "Wait, I'm still falling."
Yeah. Oh, this is the size of Hyrule.
And then it opens up, and you're like, "Oh shit, I actually need them."
yeah. Yeah, because I somehow didn't do that
Yeah.
quest because I was just like, oh, I got my paraglider. It was because I played at midnight. I waited until midnight release, and it was like a Thursday.
yeah.
So it was 2 a.m. on Friday or whatever, like the day after it came out. I was exhausted. I finally got my paraglider. I'm like, tomorrow morning, I will wake up in like 3 hours, play some more before work, and just explore. So I didn't look around and look out landing. I just bailed.
Yeah.
And so yeah, when I came back later after already being like, what the fuck are the depths? And they're like, yeah, here's the depths. Let's all explain it for you so you don't get freaked out. I was
Yeah.
like, I fell down a pit and got killed by a frox. What the hell?
This game definitely, if you're not prepared for the worst at any moment,
It'll beat you up.
because there are moments where I'm like, Gloomhand just comes out of nowhere, and I'm like, I'm fucking on 2 hearts right now. Like,
I'm dead. Like,
what are you doing to me right now, Nintendo?
oh, and even when you get the gloom hands down to a science, like I can kill a gloom hand pretty quick now. I'm not concerned about it. It's still like you're walking along, the sky goes dark. You see
Oh,
that
it's
puddle
still
open, you're just like, oh.
That's
It's
what I
like
like
look
about
through your
this,
weapons
that's
for
what I
your
like about
stick,
this
like-
game is it's willing to kind of like, it's willing to just be creepy at times. Because it felt, I think Twilight Princess post Twilight Princess, I can think Nintendo kind of started shying away from that, just because people didn't really like the creepiness of Twilight Princess.
And they're wrong.
Like I said, there are some opinions that are wrong. There can be wrong
Yeah, yeah,
opinions, though that would be one of them. But I feel like they were just like, no, we need to keep. I mean, that's why Toon Link was such a big thing
Yeah,
for so long. It was
I think
like
it was before Twilight.
we kind of just need to be fun and light.
Yeah.
Well, I'm talking about like
Yeah, but
the
yeah.
DS games, but and now it's. I appreciate that they were just like
They were like willing.
no, the first 20 minutes are gonna be like a
Creepy.
Hitchcock movie.
Yeah. The villain is oppressive
Yeah.
and scary and will wreck your crap.
Really freaky. Great
Yeah,
character
he's
design.
beautiful. Matt Mercer did a wonderful job voicing him.
Yeah.
All the
goat.
voice actors did a great job.
Yeah.
No, for Zelda.
I was just,
for not having voices or the
gonna say,
voices
I
being
could-
like, hey.
I could do without Yunobo.
Oh, yeah. Everybody could do without you.
Every time. The fact that he says Goro after every sentence was just enough for me to be like, all right, you're done.
Ready to roll, Goro.
Put you back in my ring. You're not coming out ever again.
Back in you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was nice to just like it's also very cool that the game opens up and you have all this control. It's like you can do whatever the hell you want with the world because you have Ultra Hand. And then it routinely arrests that control from you, which is terrifying. Because Gloomhands show up, and if you're not ready for it, there is nothing you can do
Yeah,
about it.
no, yeah. They will wreck your shit.
Yeah, they will destroy you. And like same with like when you just get jumped by moblins and stuff. You're just like, well, here I am. Like I have all these tools in my arsenal, but because I wasn't ready, I'm now screwed.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. I like that idea of just like if you're not prepared, even though you can do whatever you want, you're still gonna die.
Yeah.
Because the
There
game's taking
are
that into account.
soft leveled areas to the way. You know, they're
Yeah.
not full like Dark Souls where you're like, if you're not level 15, you can't come in
Yeah.
here. Or
Yeah,
like,
if
you know,
you're
like
not
Division or
amazing,
something
yeah,
like
you're gonna
that,
get
right?
destroyed.
Yeah, it's just like you can come here.
Yeah.
You're not gonna have fun.
Be prepared. Oh.
We're not gonna stop you.
Yeah. Go
But-
for it, but it's gonna suck.
All right. We gotta rank them.
What are you ranking?
Oh, the bosses. Let's do the
Okay.
bosses.
I was like, do we want to rank the? Because I didn't actually rank the sages yet.
Let's do the. Oh yeah, let's do the sages.
All right.
Let's do.
Tulin?
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Regions. So we're talking
Okay. Okay.
a mix of the sages.
The
dungeon.
design and the actual plot.
Yes.
Okay.
Not the boss per se.
Yeah.
But like.
I still really like the Rito. I think it might be my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That climb up to the sky
That's
arc
atmospheric.
was so cool. It was super awesome. And then just the
Yeah.
like the subtle introduction to breaking the ice,
Yeah.
which is a mechanic for Colgera, and then like the springy ships,
Mm-hmm.
which you need to traverse the temple. It was very cool. It was very like here's this like slow build up into what you're gonna be doing. So when you get there, nothing is like, well, what do I do?
They're the best at that. I mean, they've been doing that
They've been
in
doing it
this
for ages,
series.
yeah.
They've been doing that in this series forever. It's literally like, we give you this item, we show you a mini boss that like mirrors the boss.
Have at it.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
So it's like that's dope.
Yeah, so it was perfect. And then Tulin is the best of the sages, goated S tier, literally can do no wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, it was just a good little zone. Next I'd say probably Are we counting the depths as the Spirit Temple region, or are we just gonna say it's that tiny little part? Because the depths
No.
as a whole are cool.
Yeah.
But I think like that tiny little stretch where you do like where you're putting the mech
the
together,
actual Spirit Temple quest is what I'm referring to.
that's kind of neat. Not gonna lie. As much as I don't like the spirit or the Sage of Spirit, because I just feel like she's kind of shoehorned in.
It's just too long. It's literally spend 15 minutes to go track one body part. Now you gotta do that 4 times.
But I really
By the
enjoyed
way,
the
you have
puzzles.
to go halfway across
Yeah.
the map.
The
No, I
walk
like the
was
puzzles.
sucky,
I like the
but, like,
puzzles.
yeah.
But the fact that you have to spend an hour just to build her, and then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, now go another hour walking. Oh, by the way, she like dies.
Yeah.
It's like, there goes the camera.
Oh, are we gonna get another battery, or we're just gonna be?
Now we'll keep going.
Okay, cool. Now I can just relax and scratch my stomach.
But that part was just like, all right,
But-
Nintendo, come. Especially because I was just getting so much anxiety, or not anxiety, but like,
You just want to be done.
I just not that necessarily, but it's just like I just want to fight Ganon. Like, let me just
Yeah,
get to
you
the
just wanna
end
get to
game,
the fight,
right?
yeah.
Like I'm ready for
But,
it. You gave me a little tease in the castle. I'm ready for it. Let's do it.
Let's take the fight. But I will say, because to me, also the Spirit Temple includes Dragonhead Island, because that's part of the quest.
Oh yes,
you
yes,
know?
yes, yes, yes.
And that was cool. Like doing that whole quest and seeing this part of the map that like
Just open up.
was
randomly.
kind of there.
Yeah.
Especially in like Breath of the Wild, like those of us that are what's I'm looking for, like lore inclined, they've been talking about the Zonai like thing since Breath of the Wild, because
Yeah.
it was the Zonai ruins.
Yeah.
People have been like freaking out about it. It was one of those things that I forgot about. And I actually, like, again, my sister, who is a huge lore nut, came back and told me, she was like, oh my God, like the Zonai ruins. And I was like, what do you want? Everything's a Zonai ruin. What do you want about? And she had to re-explain it all. So like that was cool. Like going back to that part, once you have clear context and just being like, oh, this was in the original, this was a Breath of the Wild. Now I'm exploring it. Now it leads to this huge temple. Oh, this is cool. And then like building her was really fun just because I like the puzzles.
The puzzles were good.
The puzzles
Yeah,
were
yeah,
awesome.
they were
Yeah,
really
it was a
good puzzles.
time
It
consuming.
was like
thing.
classic Zelda puzzles.
And then the boss fight was kind of fun. Not gonna lie.
There were a lot of aha moments,
Yeah, where you're like
specifically
"Oh!"
for that temple, where I was like, I'm an idiot.
It taught me more about the physics engine than the full like 40 hours
Yeah.
beforehand.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I can do that with wheels. That's crazy.
That would be your number 2.
I'd say that's probably my number 2.
I think mine would be Gerudo.
I was fighting Gerudo. I'm gonna be honest.
Purely for the finding the temple is cool, but also the fight before it, where you're defending Gerudo Town, is like dope.
As much as I hate the Gibdos, that part was awesome.
That part was so cool.
So cool.
I was like, I hope Nintendo does more of this. It felt like something out of Hyrule Warriors.
Right?
or
Yeah, it was
something.
very like Siege. I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
I didn't particularly enjoy finding the temple, but mainly because I had a case of the stupid and
Yeah.
could not figure out how to get the first
Me too.
pillar up.
Yeah, me too.
For the longest time, and I was getting so annoyed. It was also after a really bad work day, so I was just pissy. But the temple itself is really cool, and I like that it was one of the only temples that was on the ground.
Yeah.
And stuff, and like the puzzles were really cool. Queen Gibdo sucks. I hate her.
But she's the only boss I died to.
Yeah.
I think I died.
I got my.
I think I've died 3 times to her.
I got absolutely bodied by Queen Gibdo.
Yeah.
And the few times I ran,
But a lot of it is just because Riju, her ability, A, has to charge, B, has to charge when you activate it, and C, she likes to just run off.
well, because you don't even need to use Riju. You can use shock fruits.
Yeah, I figured that out after the third time I died. I was just like, fuck you.
Shock fruits, fire fruits, etc.
Yeah.
I threw a couple bomb plants at her.
I think I got a mirror shield. Just
Yeah,
used the
mirror shield. I thought that was a super cool thing. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, glad to see that back.
Yeah.
It's just like she just is so squirrely that it makes shooting her with an arrow super freaking difficult.
Also, you're getting swarmed by
And you're getting
mobs.
swarmed by the other Gibdos.
Yeah.
You have to break those out first and
Yeah.
destroy that and stuff. It's such a pain in the butt fight.
The first time I fought her, though, I had like a little sliver of heart left. Where if I had just literally had just hit her one more time, she would have been dead. And I got caught by. What did I get caught by? I think she jumped or something, or like she like swung her
Or did
tail
the-
or something
yeah,
like that.
one of those, yeah.
And I was like, "You motherfucker!"
But I would say Gerudo for my third, just because like you're saying, the
Yeah.
ambience also of Gerudo Town, walking up through the
The ruins.
through the ruins of the town, going through the sandstorm,
Very cool.
was super
Sets the
cool.
stage.
Especially because like you go through the sandstorm, and like depending on how you go, you can find like this like ruined like substrate, like this ruined Zonai ruins, I guess.
Yeah.
Which had like a literal perfect ramp and a glider to send you directly into Gerudo Town. So you just like lined up and just fire off into it, which is pretty fun. So that's pretty good. That was pretty great. Riju's cool. I like Riju a lot as just a character. I just wish it was somebody else as the sage.
My least favorite, the water temple.
You don't like the water temple?
I hated the water temple.
Oh, dude, I love the water temple.
I hated getting to it. I hated that whole like, okay, go here. Okay, go here. Okay, go here. Okay, go here. Okay,
Yeah.
go here. It's like, dude, let me get to the cut. And then it's like, okay, you're gonna climb all this. Just kidding. You gotta go back down because the water temple is like 2 feet above the air. You're like, motherfucker, just let me play.
Yeah, the fetch quest of the Zora domain is why it's so far down, because I
Yeah.
love the water temple as a design. I love that for the first time in ages we had a water temple that was open, and you weren't messing with the level of the water in the temple.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Maybe that's why they didn't have one in Wind Waker, because they were like, we have the greatest of all time. Let's just not ruin it for gamers.
They're like, how do you mess with the water level of the ocean?
Yeah. Just go find this giant whale.
But like to me, the one bad mark, besides the fetch quest of getting to the water temple first, and yeah, the climb wasn't very exciting. Doing the underground Zora thing was pretty cool though. The underground Zora waterworks or whatever, that was pretty fun. Seeing
was
Sidon
okay.
like pop off and make a whirlpool that you got to dive into was pretty.
It
sick,
was
not gonna lie.
okay.
But
It was better in the first one when you're riding on his back.
yeah, it was significantly. They made a statue about it. I was not a fan of the Muktarok. Second least favorite boss.
That's my least favorite
terrible
boss fight.
Oh my god, it sucks so bad because you need to have constant water.
Yeah.
And like same problem with like
And he
with,
jumps around a lot.
he jumps around. Same problem with Queen Gibdo, where it's like if you're relying on the sage They take forever to recharge. They're never where you want them to be. It's a pain. And then if you're using other resources, if you run out of those resources, now you have to fight them with the sage, which is worse. And it's just like, and like these are all compounded by the fact that you can fight them again in the depths a lot. So I fought each of these like 4 times. every single one except Colgera. Goated boss fight.
Yeah.
Every single one just got worse and worse in my opinion as I played through it.
I'll say this though too, or continue. Sorry.
No, go for it. Yeah. What do you
I was
guys?
gonna say a lot of what made these boss fights either good or bad was the atmosphere, because the water, specifically the water, and I would even put the spirit boss fights, are literally just like in an arena.
Yeah, you're just there.
It's like, all right, cool. We're just like the spirit temple was literally an arena.
Yeah. It's just an arena.
And
Goma is an arena.
Yeah.
Colgera is above the arc ship, and you can see Hyrule.
Colgera is literally like the coolest. It's got
It's goated. It's so good. It's
One
so
of
good.
the greatest scores.
Yeah.
It's like you're just literally diving through them, and it's like
Yeah, just flying through the sky.
This
And
is
if
so
you
cool.
do Colgera the way that I did it, where you wait for him to try to strike at you from below, and you shoot him with arrows, also pretty sick because you're just like over him, you see him, and you just drop, and
Yeah,
as
you
you're
did
falling,
it,
you're
you
just
did it.
shoo,
You did it for
shoo.
cool points.
It was so sick.
Yeah,
It
I
felt
think
so awesome.
that's when Nintendo's the best. Is when they're not like, let's not make it hard level. Let's just make
it fun. Yeah,
and
just have a good
fun.
time. Yeah.
Like my favorite in Wind Waker is the first one when you fight the giant squid, and it's like, because you're just literally just like, and there's like this loud percussion like, vroom, vroom,
And you're just having a good time. Yeah.
vroom, and then you drop it, and it's like,
Well,
it's like.
I was say it's one of the things
Iconic.
that I really love about Twilight Princess is that when you get the chance to strike, because a lot of those boss designs just like wait for opening to strike and then
Yeah.
strike 3 times. It plays that like super like heroic score, that dun 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 dun, dun and you're just like yeah. Like the water temple boss in Twilight Princess, the big old eel thing. When you get there and you like hook shot to his back and you're just grabbing onto him and you got your master sword in one hand, he's
Yeah.
swimming around just like yeah.
And you're smashing.
Oh,
Yeah.
the ambiance in that is so sick. And then you get kicked off and the creepy music kicks back in. Like, that was Colgera. When, as you're falling through him, it's playing like the triumphant part. And you're like, yeah, I'm awesome. And
Yeah.
then you get sending back up and he's screaming at you and starts shooting spikes. You're like, oh.
Yeah, we like fun fights, not hard fights.
No, I mean, I like hard fights too. I play Dark Souls.
Yeah.
But I don't play Zelda to have hard fights. I play Zelda to have a good time.
Yeah.
And then Ganondorf happened.
Creates
But,
good which is both.
Yeah.
Fire. Or unless you had one more thought.
No, I was gonna get to the fact that the Goron, every part about the Goron sucks.
Yeah.
Except the fact that you can walk around Death Mountain without exploding. Pretty sick. Love that change.
Yeah, I think I got the first 2 levels of Goron, and then I was just like, fuck it, rocket shield everything. I'm not messing with the cards.
I will say Goron does
Like-
have one positive, and that is while you're still in the overworld, after you get Yonobu, and you go to the top of the mountain,
Yeah.
and there's that big
yeah.
like glue
That's
monster.
cool. Yeah.
And you're flying around on an airship
Yeah.
and you're shooting it down. That's sick.
Yeah.
That is so. I was like, this is what they should do for every boss.
Yeah.
The game should force you to use these creations.
Yeah.
Because this is the coolest part of the game.
Kingdom Hearts 2 style Xehanort boss
Yeah.
fight.
Right. We're just like yeah.
when you fight the dragon.
Yeah. And just I was like, this was so cool. And then I was like, I can't wait to see what the temple's like. Because if this is what it is, you know, like, oh, the lead up kind of sucked with like fighting Yonobu was stupid.
Yeah.
It was literally a 3-hit boss. Didn't really care for the whole like capitalist angle. Like you're saying, like using the
Yeah.
minecarts to get up to the mountain was kind of whatever.
Yeah.
The area is very just kind of boring without all the lava, to be fair. So I was like, I can't wait to see what they do with the depths because I haven't been over this area yet. It'd be super cool. And get down, it's just like, you remember Goron mines from Twilight Princess? What if we added minecarts?
Have you ever played Minecraft?
Yeah, right.
Have you ever played Mario Kart?
Yeah, I was just like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
The map is confusing. You can't tell where anything is. The minecarts don't go where they think you're gonna go.
No.
I ended up doing the same thing you do, where I
Yeah.
just started climbing buildings and
Yeah.
like ascending through ground and stuff because I was like, this is stupid. I'm not dealing with
Yeah,
it.
they missed on that one. That
then-
one's my least favorite dungeon for sure.
And then like you get to Goma and you're like, oh dude, Goma, haven't seen Goma in a long time. Love to see it. And it's just kind of like there.
Yeah.
She's fun. It's an okay fight compared to like some of the other fights. You know, compared to Colgera. Goated. I play Colgera's music a lot during DVD.
Yeah,
I
it's a
don't know. I
good.
don't know
No,
if you
it's a
noticed
good
that. Yeah, I
piece of.
put it
It's
on,
a good
during
piece
combat.
of
It's a great piece
piece of music.
Um,
My favorite dungeon, Hyrule Castle.
Hyrule Castle is
The
amazing.
first time you go.
Yeah.
Goated.
When you're chasing Zelda.
Yeah.
That Phantom Zelda.
Goated. And that like
Oh.
ominous. It's like that ominous like Ganondorf music going on.
Yeah,
you're
like-
it's not his theme, but it's definitely something that you can attribute to him. And then also it's thundering and lightning in the background.
Yeah,
and
and
you're
you're
just
just
like killing swarms of enemies. I'm like,
You know something's wrong because you're chasing a Zelda that
Yeah.
keeps disappearing. Like
Yeah.
this isn't right. And then you get there and it's like, remember Puppet Zelda? Cool fight, right? And you're like, oh. And if you didn't fight any Gloom Hands before that, which I did, you're surprised with like Phantom Ganon, and you're like, oh, this is so cool. Like, oh. I had
have to
already,
fight like
I had
10
already
of them.
seen, I had already seen Phantom Ganon at that
Yeah.
point, so it's kind of whatever.
yeah.
But like, yeah, getting your sage back up for the first time, like the actual sages, like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, cool. Like
Yeah,
to
they
see them
pop in
show
all
up
cool.
versus like just
Yeah,
the spirits.
yeah, that was
Because I was
sick.
like, oh, that's how they can get around that, huh? Like, oh, you can summon my spirit. I'm like, cool, whatever.
And then they
And
actually,
then they actually show up. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is sick. Like, all my friends are here.
Yeah.
This is so cool. Power of friendship, Kingdom Hearts. Kyrie's excited.
They played Kingdom Hearts 2 before.
It was very cool. It was so much fun, and just seeing like he finished beating Phantom Ganon, and he's like, all right, well, come get some real some. And
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
all right. And then of course they send you to the Spirit Temple quest. You're like,
That's
I
what
kinda
drove me
just wanna
crazy
go
was
beat
just like, I
Ganon's
just want to
ass.
go fight Ganon. Like, let me just go kill him.
I kind of want to
I'm
go
ready
show
for
him
it.
what's what.
I'm ready for it. Let me just go get him.
And then he whooped mine
Yeah.
savagely.
All right, we're gonna get there. Let's do it.
We talking Ganon? Okay.
Let's do it.
So
The road to him is kind of a little bit of a letdown
a little bit.
because you think about it, Ganon's castle. Always the
Always
best
the
part
coolest,
of all
yeah.
of his games.
Going
That
through
he's
Hyrule
in.
Castle and Twilight Princess, going through Hyrule Castle,
Wind
and
Waker, Ocarina of
Yeah,
Time.
Wind Waker,
Ocarina
yeah.
of Time is like the most iconic one because you're literally going up that staircase and you're
Yeah,
like,
you're chasing it. Yeah,
fuck, this is sick because the music is playing in the background and you're fighting all these hard bosses.
It's so sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I enjoyed that it was inverted. I like the idea that this time we were going down.
Yeah.
Because like you said, a lot of times you're going up to Ganon at the top.
Mm.
So I was very excited that it was inverted. But it's very much just like a mad dash to Ganondorf.
Yeah,
Because you just
yeah.
you're like you put two and two together. He's under Hyrule Castle. Of course, we saw it at the beginning, right? So you dive into Hyrule Castle and you land and there's a Lino and you're just like,
Yeah.
oh no.
It's funny because I remember seeing a TikTok of like, oh, I want to go into Hyrule Castle, and it's like that Incredibles meme, that mister Incredibles meme, where it's the like the dark face, where he's
Yeah.
like, I've seen shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I'm gonna go down there, and then I went down there and I saw the line. I was like, nope, not
Yeah.
for me. Going back up.
the gloom infested Lino, or you're taking
and
constant
then,
damage.
yeah, and then they were like, oh, by the way, he's actually there, and I'm like, how the fuck am I gonna get there?
Yeah. So I like I lost so many hearts to the gloom on that one.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting to the Ganon fight after running through the whole thing, and I feel I need to go back. Now that I am like way stronger and capable of whipping anything.
Just
fast.
see how it goes.
Just to actually like explore the area because
Yeah.
I did not appreciate it the first time through. Up until of course you get to like where you start the game at, and I was like, oh, I recognize this.
Yeah,
There's
that
nothing here
room.
that'll be a threat.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Blowing up that rock that was blocking out
Yeah.
the last piece of it that shows like you currently.
Big
You're like,
F you.
you're like, oh, dude, if I had just used the Sheikah Slate bombs that I'm sure I had, I would have noticed this, and we would
Like,
never
wait a
have
minute.
gotten into this
Wait a minute.
situation
Is
at
this,
all.
is this Interstellar?
Yeah, right.
The beginning is the end.
But going through that was fun, and then you get to like the drop off, and you look down, and you're like, this is deeper.
Yeah.
You're like, oh crap, that was cool.
And then you go even deeper.
Go even deeper, yeah.
You
and
see
again,
that big red blob, and
that
you're like, "This is
huge
where it's
blob,
going. This is and the music gets louder. I don't
yeah,
know if
it's
you picked up
getting
on that.
creepy. Yeah, it's like
It's
super
like I don't know.
ominous.
There's like a musical cue or something when it's like when
The second you
character hits this point
Yeah.
in elevation, play this.
It
And it's
yeah,
just
it
like-
definitely had.
I was like, "This is sick."
And then like you get down there, and again, I had no gloom restoring food at this point, so I
Yeah.
was just like, I was going by the seat of my pants. It was super. It made it so much more tense because I was like, every hit I take is a lost heart.
Yeah.
And yeah, you get down there, and he's like, all right, let's go. And you just see like the hordes of his enemies, and you're just like, oh, and then your friends show up, and you're like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And I was so getting to fight every enemy again. There's those hordes. It felt like you were what Link is supposed to be. This just unstoppable onslaught of madness because you're just going through, you're cutting down things. I'm like,
I love how the text was "War for Hyrule" or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that,
like,
right? It's like "War in the Depths" or something.
War in the Depths, yeah.
Fuck yeah!
I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. And again, it made Ganondorf a threat. Up
Yeah.
until like I feel like we didn't see him ever make monsters in those other games. He does because they're part of him.
Yep.
But like it didn't. It never really seemed super threatening to me. So seeing like he's like, oh yeah, I'm biding my time by sending wave after wave of monsters at you because I can do that. I'm just like, that's a villain.
I'm in it. Let's do it.
Like that's a bad guy.
Let's go full force.
And then yeah, the fact that he's like, all right, I'm done playing with you. Here's every boss, and you're just like, oh
Yeah, when they all pop back up.
yeah,
I'm
they all
like,
pop back up.
not
I thought I
again.
was gonna have to. I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to fight all of them again. This is super cool.
Yeah.
And then having your buddies back off and like fight them. Fun fact, if you haven't already figured that out, if you don't do the sage and you just go there first, you do have to fight all the bosses.
Oh, jeez. Really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
Because it's the same Breath of the Wild principle. As soon as you get
Yeah.
to Hyrule, you can go jump in the hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
But
That'd be fun. I wanted to see a speed run of that.
it's terrifying. I watched somebody do it with like actual hearts, and I was like, God, that looks like torture.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you go to fight Ganon, right? And obviously, I'm assuming most people had gotten the Master Sword at this point. That
They
when
kind of
you-
make you get Master
it
Sword.
kind of you don't have
Well, it's
to.
a quest.
Yeah, it
Why
is.
when you get the Spirit Temple.
But well, I'd already had it by that point.
Yeah,
Uh,
me too.
yeah.
But I'm saying like the quest pops up like, hey, you can only
You
only
should-
go
yeah.
past here if you get the sword.
But walking up to Ganon and him just like turning around, not being, old, like him just like immediately being like, all right, I'm buff and hot. And you just like pulling out the Master Sword and just like
I
extending
had the
it.
Hylian shield equipped too, so I was like,
Yeah.
oh, shit,
having
this is
having
old
it
school.
light up
Yeah.
and you're just like, "Ba-na."
yeah. This is like
Just
a
like-
real Luke versus Darth Vader
Yeah,
type
exactly.
vibes.
I was like, this is light versus like
Yeah.
this is what Zelda is
Yeah.
about. And that fight was just awesome. He's a real pain in the butt. He's vicious.
Yeah, I remember the first time we fight him because he's still in his normal form, and I was like, "Oh, this isn't that bad."
Yeah.
like he's just shooting some stuff. He's flurry rushing me, but it's like whatever,
Yeah. I
Bob
can,
and weave.
I can handle this.
Yeah, bob and weave.
I
just,
play Dark Souls. I know how to
slip and
handle this,
dodge.
like,
No big
know.
deal. And then he decides to go Super Saiyan Broly, and you're like, "Whoa, what the shit?" And then I kid you not, I saw the health bar pop up, and I was like, "Understandable.
Yeah.
I get it." And then it kept going, and I was like, "What is this?"
Stop, cease.
This was a real like, "What did I just do?" kind of moment.
And at that point in the fight, I had 6 hearts.
Yeah, I don't think
So
I've
I'd
had-
taken
well,
so
I,
much.
I prepped for the gloom, so I had a lot.
yeah,
of,
I really could have prepped more.
I had a lot of
Um,
anti-gloom.
I made Ganondorf into a Dark Souls boss fight because I could not get.
I mean,
hit
he's
all
a
the
Dark. I'll tell you
He
right
is
now.
in
Even
himself,
with
yeah.
it, he almost broke my Hylian shield.
time. But
And that thing is supposed to last a long time.
but going back to like the comments that I keep saying of like Ganondorf was actually a scary threat this time. That
Yeah.
everybody had the same reaction of like, oh my god,
and
when
he's
he
not
just, like-
easy. He's
No.
not easy at all.
The first time he flurry rushes you, where you like you do your thing and he jumps over and like time stops, you're just like, oh no.
It's a literal like, what did I do?
Yeah. I have
Also, once you figure out even how to beat him, like how to parry his attacks and stuff, still not
still not
easy.
simple. Some of those attacks are really hard.
Yeah.
And he changes them up. If he has
Yeah.
the short sword, he can
Uh-huh.
attack from like 3 different
Yeah,
angles, and
yeah.
I'm like, you have to figure out what follow up he's
Yeah.
doing.
It's a really designed boss.
Yeah.
Where it's like not only
Yeah, it
is
is
it
designed.
atmospheric, and there's a lot of emotion, but it's also just hard.
Yeah, he feels like how I feel Ganondorf should feel in all the other games.
Yeah.
Because every other one, you have a sword fight with Ganon, but they're always just kind of like,
Parry.
I'm
block.
fighting Ganon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here.
Or like you're playing a ping pong match with them. The only one I would say it I would liken it to is the Ganon fight of Ocarina. Because
Yeah.
that is a dope fight. Where it's literally like, all right, it's dark. You can only see his eyes
gotta
and
slap,
his
yeah.
tail, and he's just swinging at you at all
He's
times.
kicking
Just-
your-
and
yeah.
you don't even have your sword. So like,
Oh.
figure it out. That's
That-
the only thing that
yeah,
I'm
where it's
like-
just like,
this is peak Nintendo
this is what we should be doing.
Yeah. for sure.
But I also just love when the final boss can do things that the player can do.
Yeah.
Especially when like the player's been like constantly
Yeah.
kicking stuff
That's how,
because it has
that's
all
how
the
a
free
final
stuff.
boss should be.
Yeah.
It should be.
It should have access to the stuff
It
that you
should
can do to scare you.
question you. So,
Oh.
like, have you been paying attention?
And then you finally beat him, and you're like, oh man, this was rough. And he's like, all right, so how about phase 3? And the dragon phase was sick.
Oh my god, that was.
The dragon phase was so cool.
We were in a Studio Ghibli movie.
What I also love too is that like he knew that if you ate the stone, you lose your mind.
Yeah.
You lose all thoughts. You,
And
can't,
he
you
was
lose your
willing-
sense of
he
self.
was
And he was
willing to
like,
go there.
I just hate Link so much that I'm
This
gonna just give up.
Goddamn motherfucking midget.
This twink in a bathrobe.
Is that sensitive? I don't know. Can we say that?
You might want to cut that. I think it's okay. You might want to cut this whole bit.
It's.
I mean, it's not a slur.
It's not a slur.
No.
Yeah, we'll keep it. We'll keep it. It's funny. It's funny. Everyone say it.
Everybody who knows me knows that I say that with love. But
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you're not wrong.
yeah, you just go up and then the Zelda. We haven't even talked about her arc yet.
Yeah.
Zelda just coming in and just swooping under you, and you're just on her, and you know that like, again, she has no memory at all.
Yeah.
It's just the force of light saw the force of darkness and is like, yo, I gotta mess this
Yeah.
up.
These three are destined to
Yeah,
fight to
we're
the end of time.
destined. Yeah, exactly. We're all it. Everything about the ending
Yeah.
of this game is like this is what the base concept of Zelda is. You're just like you're fighting an incredibly evil power that is stronger than you in every sense of the word. You're overcoming it through sheer courage and badassery. And then there's the three interlinked forever. And it's just you guys are just
That's
going
what
at
makes it amazing.
It's what yeah. It's
That's
what,
why
it's
we
such
love this
peak
game.
Zelda. Yeah.
Because we know how it's. We all know how
we
it's
know
gonna
what's gonna
end.
happen.
But it's the journey and the
Uh-huh.
just being there at the end. Where
It's
it's,
the
like,
fact that they've
this is
done
amazing.
this exact story so many times where you know at the end it's going to be you, Zelda, and Ganon.
Yep.
It's always you, Zelda, and Ganon.
Mm-hmm.
Even in Breath of the Wild, it was Zelda was helping you out with the light bow.
Yeah.
Even though she wasn't there, she was still like giving you
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
and telling you
yeah.
what to do.
And the
It's-
horse.
yeah, and
She
then-
gave you the horse.
So I was just like, I was like, this is perfected.
Yeah.
Like this is the best way you could do it, where it's literally just the raw forces of light and darkness mashing against each other. That being said, the actual dragon fight is pretty boring.
Yeah,
Because you
because
just
it's
kind of drop
literally
on him,
just
smack
go.
things a
Yeah,
couple times,
yeah.
and then stab him in the eye.
But that's what it is.
But, like-
It's always just the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Because you go back and play an old Zelda game, and you're like, this isn't necessarily hard.
No.
But what makes it fun is everything surrounding the actual boss
Yeah.
fight.
You know, turning into Wolf Link and grabbing Dark Beast Ganon and yeeting
Yeah.
one to the side is pretty sick.
Yeah.
But I love Twilight Princess. I could talk about that for an hour.
It's okay. I could talk about Ocarina of Time forever.
Yeah, it was just so perfect. Just the final boss was so good.
It's a wonderful ending too.
Yeah, and then just like
It
seeing
just ends.
seeing
where
Raru
she
and
just
stuff,
comes out and she's like, "You did it, Link."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Fuck yeah,
we
I
were
did it. I'm
successful, and you're
fucking-
like, damn right, babe.
I'm fucking Link.
Now let's go
What do
home.
you think I
and
am?
go,
I am him.
yeah.
Every my D&D
Link
character
is me.
My D&D character is he's going through a thing where he's gonna become from Batman to,
To Link? Yeah, sure.
You might be turning into Ryan Gosling at some point along the
That's
way.
understandable.
But
I would prefer him to be man, honestly.
he's all he's gonna do is just be like, I drive.
Shut up.
That's all he's gonna do. It's gonna happen. I'm workshopping it.
All right, I'll allow it.
But yeah, so it's a wonderful ending.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ending.
To a
just,
wonderful game.
You know,
The post-credit sequence kind of leaves a lot to be desired. Where it's like that
Yeah.
didn't really need to be a thing. It's nice, but it's just like
it's kind of there.
I would have liked to have seen like an Ocarina of Time style, like everybody just fucking party.
Yeah, everybody having a good time rebuilding.
Something like that. But
I also would have enjoyed, and I kind of wish they had this in Breath of the Wild. It'll never happen, because it's not Zelda style. But I would have enjoyed a post game. Just a little
Yeah.
like, hey, Hyrule's better. You know, like here
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can see like what happened. You can walk around in a happy Hyrule. You can see Zelda.
Sure.
You can go home to your girlfriend because she stole your house.
No, they're just roommates.
In a single twin bed. They fucking.
No, I know. I know.
But
Poor Mifa.
yeah, yeah, she died and got nothing for it.
Where do you rank this among the Zeldas?
Ooh.
Okay, let's do this first.
That's tough.
Tier it. S tier, A tier, B
well,
tier.
well, I mean, I feel like we should talk about Zelda plot too. Before we start talking about tiers, because we haven't even talked about the whole dragon crap.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's also really cool.
Okay. Make it quick.
Yeah. Oh, are we running out of time?
I mean the battery.
Oh, okay.
Recorder.
Zelda being the dragon is awesome.
Yeah.
It's really cool how it teases you with it, because when you first finish the Sky Island, she comes out through the clouds and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, dragon. You know, cool.
It's a really well done foreshadowing by
Yeah.
Zelda. I don't know if that's foreshadowing necessarily, but it's really well done.
Her having the Master Sword, also sick. Especially because, like, if you hadn't done all the memories up until getting the Master Sword, because I was walking around, I was just doing stuff as I found it. And so I saw Korok Forest, and I was like, I bet the Master Sword's there. I'm going to at least unlock it so I can
Yeah.
go to it whenever I want. And he's like, oh, yeah, the Master Sword's over here. And I was like,
Why?
it's on a dragon.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna go get it.
Oh,
And then
so
it was
you
like-
didn't get the memories first.
I did not get all the memories
Oh,
first.
I got the memories first.
So I didn't know that she was the dragon. I
Yeah.
just I dropped on there. I happened to have enough stamina, so I got it immediately.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, me
like
too.
she was like, Link, I'm imbuing this with my power, and I was on top of Zelda for like a full minute. I was like, oh my god, the dragon's Zelda. Oh my god, the dragon is Zelda. Oh my god. And then I finished the memories, and I was like, oh, it tells you. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be like up in the
Because
air.
the last memory
It's
is
her
like,
turning into the dragon.
literally
Yeah.
just- you see the dragon walk across, and you're like,
Oh.
oh, that's so cool.
So I think that was neat, because that was one of the weak parts of Breath of the Wild, was all the cool stuff happened in the past and you couldn't actually interact with it. So having the cool stuff happen to Zelda, who you can then interact with, was kind of nice. But rankings,
They definitely fleshed out her character.
Yes.
Which, to be
She was
fair,
more
she's a
interesting.
spirit in the first one.
Yeah.
So it
She's
makes
kinda
sense.
just there.
But this one, she's like,
she's actually a person.
yeah, which is really nice.
She was cool.
Best Zelda?
I don't know if I would call it the best.
Is it still Tetra?
Tetra.
Yeah.
Oh,
the pirate.
sorry, yeah. I mean, no, she's the best. She's the best Zelda. Yeah.
Who?
Tears
Tears of the Kingdom?
Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, I mean, I enjoy a nerdy girl. I'm gonna be honest with you. And
I
she's
don't
pretty
know,
caked
man.
up.
Tetra's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, I need to cut that out.
Everybody agrees.
Motherfucker. God damn it.
Yeah, I like this Zelda. She's just also, I feel like she kind of gets stuff done, which Tetra does too.
Yeah.
But like, it's just nice, especially because, like I said, my favorite Zelda of all time is Twilight Princess. It'll always be Twilight Princess, and that Zelda doesn't do a damn.
I was going to say,
thing.
she does literally nothing. Except
But-
she helps you ride a horse
Yeah.
for the final fight.
But that's what Mifa's for.
Yeah, fair enough.
Goated.
Fair enough.
Not Mifa, Midna, Lameo.
Best Link?
For sure. For sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
It's him
Yeah.
or Ocarina.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Best Ganon.
Again, yeah. Best Ganon for sure.
I like Wind Waker Ganon.
I like that Wind Waker Ganon is menacing,
Yeah.
because he's around like the entire time, and you're like, oh, this guy's terrifying. I just cannot get over the fact that Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom is a genuine threat that will end the world, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can defeat him is by your girlfriend becoming a dragon for 10,000 years.
Talk about a real team player.
Yeah, right?
I like him because he's very. He has a lot of. You feel sympathy for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just I'm pure evil. It's I don't like Hyrule because Hyrule killed my people to
Yeah.
a degree. Like they neglected my people for so long.
It's a very different Ganon
So
experience.
that's
with
why
Wind
I
Waker.
hate Hyrule. And also it helps that that's the same Ganon that you fought in Ocarina. So there's obviously history there between you and as the player and Ganondorf.
Right.
But that last like 20 minutes when he's giving his monologue at the final fight is one of the greatest monologues of any character. It's
Yeah,
up there
that's
with
fair, yeah.
lightness and darkness are supreme.
Shut up. Wrong video game. Yeah, I would say in terms of the full game, I think it's a better game than Breath of the Wild, but I think if you want just that pure adventure spirit, Breath of the Wild is better.
Yeah, I'd agree with that because this one definitely feels like it holds your hand more,
Yeah, I feel like it definitely
Right.
tells you to go do stuff.
and it rewards you for holding your
yeah,
hand more.
and yeah, exactly.
Where they will literally be like, "Hey, go check this out," and you go check it out, and it's actually like worthwhile to go check it out.
Now,
Whereas Breath of the
somebody-
Wild is like, there's literally nobody here to tell you shit. Just go
Yeah,
do stuff.
You are given a single tutorial, and then he says, "Go kill Ganon,"
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the thing pops up, "Kill Ganondorf," and you're
Yeah.
like, "What?"
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Whereas, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom is very much more like there's a plot here, so
Yeah.
you get, Now, if somebody asked, like, in terms of Zelda games, I don't think I can rank old Zelda games against Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. I don't think it's fair because they're such a different experience. Like, you're telling me that you play Ocarina of Time and then you go play Breath of the Wild and you're like, this is the same genre.
I can still play Ocarina of Time to this day.
I love Ocarina. Yeah, no, I
had
agree.
a 3DS and I made it a point to play it every 6 months.
Yeah.
That's how much I loved. Even I think I stopped playing it when I was like a sophomore in college because I lost my 3DS.
I'm sorry.
And I know. Nintendo re-release it for the Switch, please. But like, I just made it a point to always play that game because that is still one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, it's great.
I love that game.
And I'm not saying like, oh, it doesn't hold up anymore. It's just like, I have friends who started with Breath of the Wild. They're like, oh, okay, people are playing Breath of the Wild. I'm gonna go play Breath of the Wild, and then they're like, I'm gonna go play, Ocarina or the Skyward Sword remake or the Wind Waker remake, and they're like, this is completely different. And I'm like, yeah, it's a total genre shift.
Yeah.
It's why they're so cool, but also
It's Assassin's Creed going full open world RPG.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Honestly.
It's just kind of like, on one hand, it's a good change. I think it's good for like just getting more people into these worlds.
It's more beginner friendly.
Yeah, it's more beginner friendly.
Yeah.
I think it's a more interesting experience. You get more bang for your buck because the games take like freaking 100 hours to finish.
There's actual agency.
Yeah, there's actual player agency. You can do whatever you want. You're not just being told where to go.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can't be like, oh yes, dude, like compared to Twilight Princess, it does this, and better because it's such a different play experience,
Yeah.
It'd be like saying like, oh, what's better, Smash Bros or The Last of Us? It's just completely different. Like, I know they're not like completely different, but it feels so much more. Because I went during the last big freeze last year.
Yeah.
I went and bought the Skyward Sword remake because I never played Skyward Sword. And going through it, even before Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, man, this sucks. It just controls terribly, and I'm like,
we're gonna get some people upset.
oh, I like the story.
All the
don't get me wrong.
TikTok people are gonna be upset.
I love Skyward
To
Sword.
be fair,
as a
they have
story.
what? Is it motion controls that they have on it? Yeah.
Motion controls, and if you don't use motion controls, the actual control controls are not great.
Yeah. If you have motion controls on your game, you're just asking for
Yeah.
to be made fun of.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Donkey Kong Country.
But yeah, but like, just like immediately being like, okay, I have to go to like do the Forest Temple, and I have to go do the Forest Temple. It's kind of like, it's cool because it's Zelda, and I'm like, oh, it's nice to have like a path. But I was still just like, this is not scratching the itch that I know if I just replayed Breath of the Wild, waiting for Tears of the Kingdom would be scratching. And then I played Tears of the Kingdom, and I was like, oh, I'll play some more Skyward Sword, and I made 20 minutes before I was like, I can't do this. I need like another 3 months to cleanse my palate of Tears of the Kingdom because it just feels so vastly different that it's not scratching the itch.
I'm kind of just done with open world games. I don't care for them anymore. We have just gone in the opposite direction in terms of game.
That's
this
fair.
is excluding Nintendo.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Nintendo is obviously the golden child. They do everything right. But like all these developers that make these half-ass worlds where it's literally like we just made open world like Halo. Halo had no reason to be an open world game.
It doesn't do well as an open world.
As soon as I heard that, I was like, I'm
No.
never playing this shit. Like this is stupid. That goes against Halo's whole philosophy. Yeah. And I just feel like a lot of developers are like, oh, let's make open world because that's the hot topic nowadays.
Of course, we could say that Breath of the Wild went against Zelda's entire philosophy by becoming open world. To be fair,
You could say that.
I think it just depends on how well you do the open world. It's just most
It's
people
also
don't
just
do it well.
having faith in developers.
Yes. And I don't have faith in a lot of modern
No,
developers.
no. There's like 4.
Yeah. Shout out to my boys from Software.
Yeah. So I don't know. I could still play an old Zelda game.
I still will. Like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
yeah.
I love them. I've been getting the itch to play Twilight Princess, something fierce, and I'm like, I don't have a Wii.
need to just put them on the Switch already. Just
Wii
grab
emulators are
Twilight
great.
Princess, grab Wind Waker, grab Ocarina.
Yeah.
Just Majora's Mask even too.
They should. I mean, the 3DS ones might be hard to port, just because they use the touchscreen. But like, you can port the Wii U ones over pretty easily. I feel like that's just a pause menu.
Easily. Yeah.
I guess same with the 3DS ones. Now that I think about it.
Easily.
But
I don't know.
I would buy Twilight Princess HD.
I
again.
would buy a triple pack of that for
Right, yeah.
an ungodly amount of money.
Mainly because my Wii U's in storage.
You don't even. I wouldn't even mind like what they did with the Mario games, where it's literally like,
For,
all right,
like,
we
a
just
month.
put them up to 720p.
Yeah.
That's all we did. We
Yeah,
didn't
you
like
could buy this in a
retouch them at
pack
all.
for a month.
I'd
Good
be like,
luck.
I will play Ocarina in 3DS format.
Yeah, right. I don't care. Yeah.
I don't care.
Oh.
Those games are amazing.
I'll emulate them and make it run like crap. I don't care.
Game of the year?
Not even a question.
Yeah, I think so too.
There's a lot of good games coming out.
It's a good year for video games.
It's a good year,
for video games.
Very good year for video
Good year for movies. So if you like to stay home,
games. Right? Well, you have to go out to see the movies.
this is your. Well, I mean, you can stream them.
I guess true when they come out to streaming. But
Yeah.
yeah, great year for video games. I'm very excited for Armored Core 6. A lot of indie games that I've been looking at have been coming out very soon.
Let's see here. Starfield. Are you a big Bethesda fan?
No. I mean, I'm kind of excited because it's sci-fi and you know how much I like starships
Yeah.
and shit. But not super interested. But it'll be cool. I'm Skyrim was incredible. So if they just keep doing that, it'll be sick.
Wait, are you telling me you're not excited for Octopath Traveler 2?
Dude, I didn't like Octopath Traveler 1. Hot
Who
take.
likes
not a good game.
Octopath Traveler?
A lot of people.
It's like, that game does not look fun.
See, this is why I wouldn't.
Resident Evil 4
See, yeah, I mean,
just
like,
came
that was,
out. Let's see what else.
What
Trying to see
else
games
did
that come up. Big games that come out this year.
I'm gonna say yeah, because I have a lot of the games on my played list are old games that I just replayed. Actually, let me get that.
Yeah, that's really it. I feel like because video games, it feels like game of the years is like actual games that people play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like the movies where it's some obscure movie that nobody watches. Starfield. Oh, we
You already
talked about
mentioned that,
Yeah,
yeah.
we talked about that.
Hold up, I'm getting,
Spider-Man 2.
Oh yeah, that'll be big. That'll be cool. I haven't played the first one yet, but it'll be.
Those are the only ones that I can think would be like Warhammer, Space Marine 2.
Is that coming out this year?
It's slated for 2023 release.
Oh, cool. I'm excited about that. I don't know if it'll be something
good.
that no, it'll be good. The first game was good. I don't know if it'll be something that'll have wide appeal, but it was sick.
Yeah.
Oh god, Bayonetta 3 was this year. Bad game.
What else? What else? What else? I think that's it, really.
Oh, Hi-Fi Rush was this year.
Those are the only ones I could think of.
Yeah. God, I'm crazy. How did I forget Hi-Fi Rush? Great game. If you haven't played Hi-Fi Rush and you enjoy good story and action games, go play it. Don't be scared of the fact that it's a air quotes rhythm game. Super forgiving.
Kerbal Space Program 2.
What else came out this year? Bayonetta 3 was bad.
Are you talking about the greatest game of all time? Redfall.
God, don't even. That one was real bad.
All right. Any last words before we gotta go? By the way, guys, make sure you guys comment that you want to see more of Connor because we're trying to convince him to join our.
I did
thing.
say that if they got comments requesting me, that I would show up, but I also don't expect it. So,
Yeah. So make
is this
sure you
is this an
guys-
attempt to provoke engagement? Probably.
Yes. 100%.
Are we going to be honest
We
about
are
it? Damn
pandering.
straight. I don't know. Zelda's a great series. I love Zelda.
Yeah.
If you haven't played the games, go play the games. Don't be scared of them.
Fun.
It's same thing that like I said about like
Gaming
Dark
in
Souls.
its purest form.
Too, where it's just like just because something might seem a little scary at first, might have this thing. It's like, oh, it's gonna be this huge. Because like first time you get into Zelda, you're like, oh, there's all this lore behind it. You don't need to know that crap.
No. It's the same thing every time.
It's super approachable. As long as you're willing to learn, you can figure it out. You'll be good. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Nice.
If you're looking for another good game, Final Fantasy 14 Online.
Jesus. All right. That's it. We're out of here.
All right. See you guys.